Town Center in Virginia Beach. Well, you want to know all about that? Well, that's what we're talking about today, and we're starting right now. Hey, my name is Sam Sansalone, and I'm a real estate agent in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And if it's your first time, welcome here. Hit the subscribe button, the bell notification too, and then that will notify you every time I do a video. I do them about Hampton Roads, real estate in Hampton Roads, and I do them every week. So I don't want you to miss any of them. So now today we're talking about Town Center in Virginia Beach. Now this is not technically a neighborhood. I do a lot of neighborhood videos and tours to give you some perspective on the area, but Town Center is like what we would consider the downtown area of Virginia Beach. But there are several and well, quite a few neighborhoods in and around Town Center, and I'm going to talk about the downtown area itself and how it kind of started, the history behind it, where it is, you know, and then the neighborhoods around Town Center. So if you do find that you want something in Virginia Beach that is in a sort of a downtowny area, but you don't necessarily want to be in the downtown, I'll give you some ideas of areas around Town Center that might be best for you, as well as places like shopping and schools, and then some cons too, because I want to also tell you about the negatives to living in this area, and also some restaurants, plenty of restaurants in this area. I'll tell you a couple of my favorites, and just basically what it's like to live in and around Town Center. Well, first of all, where is Town Center? Where is it on the map? Well, on the map, you'll see just north of 264, Interstate 264, that goes east and west, all the way to the beach and all the way to Norfolk. Just north of that is where Town Center is, near the Independence Boulevard and Virginia Beach Boulevard intersection. This is a very busy intersection. It used to just be called kind of like Pembroke. It's pretty centrally located. It's about 15-ish minutes away from Virginia Beach, the beach itself, and about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more away from downtown Norfolk. And then if you go up to Norfolk Navy Base, it's probably closer to 20-25 minutes or so, and Oceana is about 15 to 20 itself. So you're kind of centrally located around lots of areas. Another thing is, what would you really consider Town Center? And so for me, Town Center kind of goes around in a circle. There's a street called Virginia Beach Boulevard, and it intersects with Independence Boulevard. And so about 1.5 miles or so east and 1.5 miles or so west and north and south is kind of the general vicinity of Town Center. When someone says the words Town Center, they can mean the exact downtown area of Virginia Beach, but some people will just say, I live near Town Center, and it can mean lots of different things. While it technically means the actual downtown area itself, there are other areas that kind of scale out of it that if you said you live near Town Center, people could think you could mean different locations. And you're also close to Mount Trashmore, which is one of the most interesting and desirable parks in Virginia Beach, which is about 5 minutes away too. The history behind Town Center, this is kind of cool. So this was not anything before year 2000. It wasn't until the year 2000 where they started digging and building buildings and property in this downtown area. It was just commercial buildings, some stores, strip malls, and across the street from Town Center was Pembroke Mall, which is still there currently. But in 2003, the Armada Hoffler building was the first building to be completed, and it essentially became the landmark building in this area. And up until even now, like they're still building and developing this area, but it's on a slower pace. I mean, you'll see the Town Center itself is only several blocks from one side to the other. And it was kind of a weird area for a long time. I mean, Pembroke Mall is right there, and around Pembroke Mall they're called Pembroke Towers. There were several buildings that were in this area that just are kind of boring buildings. I mean, they were built in the 60s-ish, and they're just not that exciting. They're just kind of scattered around Pembroke. Well, I grew up in and around this area too, and one of my best friends from school lived in a neighborhood next to Town Center, but before it was actually Town Center. And so there are a couple places now which you'll see there's a Walmart there, there's a Wegmans there. I've mentioned this in other videos too because I love Wegmans. There's some places in and around Town Center that I frequented before they became what they are now. So the place where the Walmart is now is a place called, it used to be called FX. It was the FX building, and in that building was called Bill's Flea Market. Any local that have been here in the 90s remember Bill's Flea Market in this building. I used to go here every week on a Friday morning, and I loved baseball cards. Me and my friend, we'd go and we'd buy baseball cards. There were a couple people in there that sold baseball cards, and it was just a big flea market. But right now, that location is now the new Walmart, the Super Walmart, which is next to downtown Virginia Beach. Now, next to that was Wegmans. Well, before there was Wegmans, there was HQ. HQ to the rescue. It was an old hardware store before Lowe's and Home Depot became something. This was where the Wegmans is currently. And then if you go across on the other side of Town Center, there was a place called Planet Music. And Planet Music was a huge, big, just room full of CDs. For anybody who can remember those times, you could go and you listen to new CDs on headphones, and then the whole rest of the store was just rows and rows and rows of CDs. You can go into even a little listening chamber and listen to classical music, which I thought was awesome too. And a lot of radio stations would come and be out front in the 90s, and I'd go, and like there was one time where I got my first car. I was 16, I got my first car, and a local radio station was set up in front of Planet Music. And they said that we'd give you a free CD if you let us put a bumper sticker of our radio station on your car. And so I was super nervous about it, but I put it on just for a split second and took it off so then they could give me my CD. Anyway, this whole place was just strip malls and old, at the time, big box stores or old time stores like the flea market that just don't exist anymore. Now it's developed into, again, a very minor, small version of downtown Norfolk, not even close really in terms of size, but lots of new stores, restaurants, office buildings, and what's it like living here? So it's pretty congested in some ways, but it's also pretty centrally located, like I mentioned before. So if you're wanting to be close to lots of things, but you're okay with driving a little bit, this is not a bad spot to be. There are plenty of neighborhoods around, and you'll have to drive some. I mean, you're gonna drive 10, 15, 20 minutes at least, but you're not too far away from anything. And in Town Center, they've developed some condos also and some apartment buildings, some high-rise apartment buildings in here. So if you do want the downtown vibe and you wanna live in downtown, you can do that. It's a little more expensive. It's funny, once you leave the downtown area, which in and of itself, it feels a little bit like a downtown. It's just a smaller, like low-key version. Once you leave that downtown area, it feels very suburban again. I mean, you'll be around lots of the other big box stores and other neighborhoods that have been there since the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, and so it won't feel necessarily like you're near a downtown because of so much that's around it is very similar to all other parts of Virginia Beach. But if you like the arts, this is a cool little place that's starting for performing arts. Sandler Performing Arts Center is here. Zyder's American Dream Theater that also just got built in here too. And with all the restaurants here and free parking, which is a big deal in Town Center, you're gonna have plenty to do and plenty to eat while you're here, as well as there being plenty of commercial buildings, office buildings, so lots of jobs around here, law offices, as well as all kinds of other businesses all around here because it's so close to Town Center. And then you've got Pembroke Mall, which is across the street, which is kind of a weird mall. It always was kind of strange to me and my friends as we grew up, but they had weird carpeting in there, like in the 90s. But it's gotten better, to be honest, and they've added some stores that have made it a little bit better, but nevertheless, it's still a mall. It's not the best. Now, neighborhoods. Well, there are lots of neighborhoods around here, and some were built a long time ago, some were pretty recent, and some new construction. As you drive around, you'll see different styles. Now, so a lot of these houses were built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. A lot of ranches in these areas too. So neighborhoods like Pocahontas Village, which is right down the street from Town Center. Aragona, Thalia, there's several Thalia neighborhoods in and around here. Kempsville Lake, and other ones like Larkspur, which is on the south side, like the edge of Town Center. Pembroke Manor, Timberlake, Columbus Station Crossing, there's condos as well that are like that lower 1,200 square feet-ish size house, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. Those are condos near Town Center. Bayside, Birchwood Gardens, Woodscape, I mean, some of these new construction too, Cornerstone, Bonnie's Key. Then right in Town Center, you've got Studio 56, which has some apartment style condos. Also, Weston has a hotel in Town Center that has some high-rise condos. But some of these, like the ranches, they start, 3 bedrooms usually, and they're about, anywhere from 1,200 square feet or so up to like 1,800. And they're just very modest houses and not big lots. But then like the most of the areas are between 250, 275 and up to 350 and 400, which is a pretty common price range for houses, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, and anywhere from 1,500 square feet to 2,500 square feet. They also started experimenting with some funny floor plans and some designs. So, like these 60s houses, like some in like, for instance, Timberlake, had a little bit more of the kind of funky look that didn't last too long. Some actually have wood siding. But you're not buying here necessarily for the splendor of the house. You're buying for location, you're buying for functionality, and you're buying for proximity to specific things, as well as access to lots of other places around Town Center, and also to be close to Town Center. Now, schools. Well, because this is a general area, like I said, it's not a specific school district. For what I would consider Town Center, most of the area has Princess Anne High School as its high school district. There are other spots that are just on the edges, for instance, like maybe a little bit of Green Run, a little bit of Kempsville, a little bit of Bayside, but mostly it's Princess Anne. As well as for middle school, you've got Larkspur and Independence, but then elementary school, there are several. There's Pembroke Meadows, there's Thalia, There's Point of View, Kempsville Meadows, and also Kempsville. I'd say for the most part, the Pembrokes and the Thalia Elementary are the most common in this area. And I'll drop links about these school districts in the description below for the niche.com ratings if you want to check those out. Now shopping. There's a lot of shopping here. There's plenty in town center, proper town center itself. Lots of unique boutique stores, but most of the ones I go to are just around the outside of there. For instance, there is a new J. Crew Mercantile that's there too. Nordstrom Rack is right next to that, which is right next to Pembroke Mall. You've got your Target, your Walmart, your Wegmans, which is right next to town center also, Fresh Market, and REI. A lot of my hiking friends love REI. Clients that ask me about the best places for hiking. And then you've got, of course, Pembroke Mall itself, which again, to me, I don't go in there at all. And there's also lots of other smaller shops around, tons of strip malls, a couple pet stores, and one of the Best Buys I used to go to for a long time was right next to town center. And then restaurants, there's all kinds. There's McCormick and Schmick's, really nice seafood restaurant. If I'm gonna go into town center, most of the reasons are because of the restaurants. So there's Yard House, one of my favorite places just to get a beer, a real tall beer. Cheesecake Factory, which, you know, if you like your chains, it's actually a really nice Cheesecake Factory. But because there are a lot of chains in this area, some of my favorites are outside of there also. For instance, Route 58 is I'd say probably the best Reuben I've probably ever had. It's an amazing, it's a huge Reuben. It's like $23 for the thing, but the reason is because it's like 2 or 3 sandwiches combined. It's so massive. That's on Virginia Beach Boulevard, and there are a couple others I like too. Cava is a new place. It's like the Chipotle of Mediterranean that just opened just a couple of weeks ago. I just tried that for the first time. I like that place. Good alternative to Chipotle if you like Chipotle, and of course there's Chipotle across the street from there. Tijuana Flats is a good, more affordable Mexican restaurant down the street from town center also, but then one of the best restaurants in the entire area is Steinhilber's. It's in Thalia, but it's in a neighborhood tucked in the back corner. You would never know it existed. Definitely worth a shot. It's very expensive though compared to other restaurants around here, but I'll drop some links for all these restaurants, so if you want to go, you can check the menus out first. Another positive for being in this area is Mount Trashmore. This is about 5 minutes south of the general proper town center area. It's awesome. There's a lake there. It's called Lake Trashmore, but this was a mound of trash. It was a landfill that was filled over, and now it's grass. It's one of the more popular, maybe most popular parks in Virginia Beach, and there's a running trail around there. I think it's a 1/3 of a mile. There are plenty of races around there, fun runs. But then there's also, you can go on top of the hill and just have a picnic or just fly a kite or parks. There are other activities there too. A place called Kids Cove, which is the playground next to there, as well as a skate park. So it's real big, real open, and usually the first day of sunshine and warmth that comes after winter, this park is filled. So it's the first place people think of. That's one thing about this park is it's easy to park in and easy to maneuver around in and run in, because the parking area and the park itself are very close together, and there's usually enough parking to fit most people. People love Mount Trashmore. Now the cons to living in this area. Well, first of all, lots of traffic. So I mentioned in my worst intersections of Virginia Beach video that one of my least favorite is the intersection and the interchange of 264 East getting off at Independence Boulevard. Going to Independence Boulevard North is, to me, the worst of the two because of just the weird way that the roads merge onto Independence. And the traffic is just, it's crazy anyway, but then you add that element to it, it's wacko sometimes. And so rush hour is kind of weird. So getting to your house, if you're going during rush hour times, add at least several minutes to 10, 15 minutes sometimes more to your commute if you're gonna live in this general area and want to take one of those exits. And then once you get off the interchange, the intersection of Independence and Virginia Beach Boulevard is also packed. It's real wide. Thankfully, they have lots of lanes now, but it is packed. It is gonna be a busy area, so that has to be something you have to factor into if you want to live near town center. And the next thing is the neighborhoods aren't fancy. Most of them aren't really, and that's okay. It was an area that was designed before the downtown area was built. And so these neighborhoods were just built for the sake of having good housing or helpful housing for people that lived in the area. So lots of the ranch style houses they're very basic, but if you like to be in this area, you might be willing to give that fanciness up. And the other con, I'd say, it's just there are more chains in town center than for my taste. This is a personal thing. I don't really like chains that much, so most of the downtown areas that have chains, whether it be Norfolk or Virginia Beach or other places outside of Hampton Roads, they just don't interest me and my wife very much if they have chains, so we look for the holes in the wall. We look for the places that you can't find anywhere else. Because the downtown area kind of attracts larger chains sometimes, that's not something that we're terribly interested in, but it doesn't mean that the quality of the atmosphere, the quality of the food or shopping is not good. It's just a preference thing. And I'll see you on the next video.